Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this Monday, the 8th of April, 2024. Thank you for tuning in. You know, there's not much way to make sense of what's going on right now. In the Ukraine war, there's not much way to make sense of what's going on. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And with the Fed, what's going on with the bond market and the equities and the price of gold and silver. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Let's get started. Let's take a look at this Ukraine war and what's going on. I just can't believe this. Neither side's claiming neither side's saying that they did it. They're both saying the other side did it. What did what? We'll see these enormous reactors, some of the biggest nuclear power plants in Europe. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, they're flying missiles into it. And they did have a direct hit on the containment facility. See that big round thing up there on top? That's reactor number 1. Inside that big round thing up on top there, there's nuclear inside that. But it's kind of like a walnut, It's got a hard shell around it that's made to take the impact of an explosion. But just like a walnut, you lay a walnut on the table and you tap it with a hammer, you might not crack it open. Give a little tap, But if you repeatedly hit it with a hammer, you're going to crack that open. And so they fly in these missiles into it, and the drone missiles. And I guess they got a direct hit. But I guess they didn't crack the reactor core open. It says a new drone attack on Ukraine's Zaporizhia nuclear power plant has raised the risks of a major nuclear incident. Well, I guess they cracked that son of a gun open. It could be like 10 times what Chernobyl was. And pollute the whole Earth. Because that radiation goes up into the sky and floats all around the Earth, but it pollutes mainly the area. Take, for instance, what happened in Chernobyl. They got what's called an exclusionary zone around Chernobyl now. So, in that exclusionary zone, that's where it gets the worst radiation. So, if this thing were to crack open, I'm sure that the exclusionary zone could be much larger. Do they want all of Ukraine to be radioactive? It says Russia said Ukraine was behind the attack. Ukraine has denied involvement. Well, who could it be? Let's see, how many players are there here? The two main players are Russia and Ukraine. Those are the two main players in this war. That's not to rule out that there couldn't be a third party. But as far as that's concerned, it seems like a hard stretch of the imagination to blame a third party. When there's these two parties, and neither side's taking any responsibility. Neither sides are saying that the other side did it. It says Zaporizhia plant in southern Ukraine is the largest in Europe. Russian forces say seized it shortly after launching their February 2022 full-scale invasion and have occupied it ever since. It says the facility stopped generating power in 2022, but it needs constant supply of electricity to cool its reactor cores. It says it's not fully offline, it says here. It's what they call a hot conservation in parentheses. So the plant, they can shut down these reactors, but from what I understand, they can't really completely turn them off. They just shut them down, and they require power to keep running the cooling on them. Take a look at another article here. It says Russia-Ukraine is a Ukraine feud over a dangerous attack on the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Kiev, which is Ukraine, accuses Moscow. And I guess Moscow has accused Ukraine of launching this very dangerous drone attack. on the Zaporizhia power plant. And I guess there was 3 drones, and there was at least one direct hit. And what were they aiming for? They were aiming for the reactor cores, from what I understand here. There's 3 of them in the picture, these reactor cores. Now, that's why I say it's what in the heck's going on? Have they lost their minds? That they would aim directly at a reactor core trying to breach the containment facility, the containment wall around the reactor. Luckily, those containment walls are extremely tough. They're extremely tough. But if, say, a missile flew into the sidewall of one of those reactor cores, and say it didn't breach it, which it probably wouldn't. If another missile flew and hit the exact same spot, or even 3 of them hit the exact same spot, they would keep weakening until they, just like hitting the walnut on the table. You hit it once with a hammer, it doesn't crack. You hit it again, you hit it again, you hit it again. Sooner or later, it's going to crack open. You can crack a walnut open. You shouldn't even try. I mean, when it comes to a reactor core like that, think about which way the wind would carry it. Wind would probably carry it over Russia or over Ukraine or over Europe. That's horrible. Have they lost their minds? Trump campaign announces a record $50.5 million at the Florida fundraiser. Wow, that is a big day. $50 million in one day at a fundraiser. That is a big day. That's a lot of money. Now, scientists are issuing a strong warning over the solar eclipse. Says it could be that could be deadly. I think what they're talking about here, what could be deadly, is all the traffic. but here's the path of the eclipse right here, and you can see it's going to enter in over Texas, and it's only a couple hours from now. Less than a couple hours now at this point. It's going to enter in over Texas, come across Mexico, enter in across Texas. Going to go right across Texas, and then it's going to go up across through the states here, taking a swoop up, and it's going to exit in Maine, and it's going to go right over New Brunswick, which borders on Maine, and then it's going to exit out to the Atlantic off of there. Now, I'm in that little thing off the end there that looks like a thumb sticking out or whatever, that little peninsula called Nova Scotia. That's where I'm at. And so I'm not going to be in that path of totality, which would be maybe 200 or 300 miles further to the north from me. I'm not going to drive to see that totality. It'll probably where I'm at. And if you're outside that band that's going across the states, if you're just outside that band, what you'll see is the sky darken, but you're not going to be in total darkness. It's just going to be, even if you're like 400 or 500 miles off to one side of this, like say you were to live in Virginia or someplace like that, you might see it darken a little bit, like not quite as bright as normal out, But as you approach that band, it gets darker and darker, and it's total night if you're underneath that band where it goes across. That's total darkness, and that must be really freaky, and that's why a lot of people, I guess, are driving into that area, that band across there. But for an event that's not going to last very long now. But here she comes. Now, Russia today, this is about the power plant again, and about Russia saying that Ukraine attacked the power plant. But if neither side's claiming responsibility, we're going to have to just guess at who attacked it. But I would say the 2 main players are Russia and Ukraine. Which side did it? And just think about the total craziness of whichever side said, okay, I got a great idea this morning. let's aim our missiles directly at the containment silo and blow radiation all over Europe if we can breach it. What were they thinking? I mean, whoever did it, what in the hell were they thinking? Have they completely lost their minds nowadays? Precious metals. Silver. Now I gotta talk about this for a minute. I got a few theories I'm thinking about on here, and I've been kind of mulling it over in my mind this morning. Could it be that the Federal Reserve knew that the price of gold and silver were going to shoot up dramatically, and in an effort, just ahead of front running it? In other words, the Fed would know. Like, they're sitting back and they've got their feelers out. They've got the top economists and everything. They got really an awful lot of available information to them that we don't have. So they know. They can see charts and stuff, and they got they take the information off the charts and they run it through AI, for crying out loud, to know what's going to happen next. And maybe, I'm just theorizing here, guys, maybe they could see by looking at their charts coming through the AI and stuff, and maybe the AI told them, hey, gold's going to go to $3,000 very quickly. And they said, oh no, how can we stop this? Oh, I know. Let's the long end of the yield curve, let it go up. That generally cools gold down. Okay. So they did that. Maybe gold was getting ready to run all the way to $3,000, and maybe by raising the bond yields, on the long end, maybe they cooled it down to where it only went up to 2,300 and change. Maybe they stemmed it off. What would have been a massive surge, which would have possibly had a very negative effect upon the purchasing power of the dollar. Just don't know what they're doing, I thought of a few other scenarios too, what's going on behind the scenes. But we have seen this pop in price, which has taken silver up to $27.68. But I'm going to tell you guys what. I do not see... let's get reasonable here. I know you guys have seen all these guys on here that says silver's going to $600 and all this kind of stuff. But being as the mining cost right now is about $20, the all-in mining cost to get the stuff, and then they're charging $27. It's way underpriced right now. It's not a whole lot above mining cost right now. Now, when it was $22 a few months ago, there was hardly any room for miners to have profit margin. But now there's a little bit of a profit margin there. But for it to be where it actually should be right now, for mining production costs and everything else, it should be over $50. And so if this stuff does go up over $50, and I expect it very well could go over $50 an ounce, you're just going to be in at a more suitable price where the miners do have a reasonable profit margin then at that point. And so don't expect it then at that point. Like other times, silver's went up. It went up to like $45. It went up to like $50, in the past, a long time ago. Didn't stay there. I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is when this stuff finally takes off and goes up over $50 this time, I don't think you're going to see the price go back down to 18 or 20 or 22 or anything like that. In other words, it's not going to be a rally that's a flash in the pan. It's going to be a rally this time where the price goes up over $50 and it stays. And actually, it has the room to surge a lot higher than that. But what'll take it a lot higher than $50 is when we start to get the massive inflation. then you could see the price of silver go up. Like the sky is the limit. Inflation, if you get into a hyperinflationary scenario, the sky is absolutely the limit for how high it can go. And gold and silver tend to keep up with inflation rather well. They're almost like they're a barometer for inflation. And of course, ever since the Fed started all this Ponzi scheme, the dollar's lost like 98% of its purchasing power over like 100 years. If you're looking at a 100-year process that goes back into the past over 100 years, do you think suddenly we're going to see a change in that process? No, it's going to continue. If we've lost 98% over those 100 years of the dollar's purchasing power, we're still going to continue to lose that 2% that's left. It's a process that's ongoing, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to reverse. It's going to be continuous. And so, yeah, when silver and gold go back to what the value that they should be more, and the BRICS is going to force that action ultimately, you're not going to see the price go back down again at that point. That's it. 23 for gold today, 23.28, down $1.10. See, we see these price rises, but we don't really see a big downside to that. Like $1.10's nothing much for a drop. Might go up this afternoon even higher. Now cryptocurrencies is back up. Bitcoin's back up to 71,900, and this has done this. It's like there's a little bit of a wall there around 72,000. And it's coming, it's like it's beating on that wall. It's like it comes up, beats on the wall, goes back down to 65, then comes up. So what's done that several times now? When's it going to bust through? That's my question. When's it going to bust through that wall and head up toward 80,000? Well, we're waiting and watching here. And she's at that wall again right now. She's pounding on that door again at 71,900. That's some awful price for Bitcoin. Ethereum 36.43 and XRP at 62.4 cents. So your cryptos are up today. Dow Jones Industrial Average today is down 10 points at 38,893. If bond yields continue to rise, watch that 10-year U.S. Treasury. If that 10-year U.S. Treasury goes over 5%, it could have a very negative effect on the equity market right here on the Dow. It could tend to. It's a big market, the Treasury market. It's bigger than this market, the Dow here, and all the other markets put together. And it's got the power. It's the price of money, or the price of their fiat garbage. I call money, but it's actually Federal Reserve notes. It's the price of those notes, and that could have if it goes over 5%, like I say, it could have a negative effect upon equities. It could be the end of the bull market. Let's put it that way. But what's the Fed trying to do? Again, are they trying to stimulate some sort of a crash by letting the long end go up so high on these yields? But maybe, like I say, maybe they were forced to try to stem off gold and silver. I just don't know exactly what's going on, but I do know that we're approaching something big right now because the Fed's trapped. Taking a look at the crude oil today, it's down 86 cents today at 86.05. So it is a down day today on crude. We've had an awful lot of up days, so it's holding at 86.05. I still think it's heading toward $90, even though we're having a down day today. Now we're seeing the yields go up again. The U.S. 10 years at 4.43, and it's up 5 basis points today, 5.6 basis points. That's quite a large day, quite a large jump in yields. These yields keep going up toward that 5% mark. And they're starting to affect the market, I think. The Dow's down 10 points, but that's not much, but It is down today. Taking a look at the 30 years at 4.56, and it's up 3.2 basis points. And the U.S. dollar index today is at 104.19, and the dollar's fallen off today. So, what can we wait to see? Oh, you guys, listen, if you're getting out there, that solar eclipse is just in a couple hours. If you're getting out there, don't look up at it unless you got some sort of glasses, and then make sure they're the right kind. You just can't use sunglasses or something like that. Still burn your eyes. Burn the eyeballs right out of your head. Well, that's an exaggeration. But it could hurt your eyes. So don't look at it. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys. And you guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.